Welcome back. We're in Quarry Bay at a meeting of the minds to tackle climate change. It's been quite insightful so far. Let's see what else Darren has in store for us.
Dr. Chow,
Hi.
so I think you're the perfect person to ask. What is Proptech?
Proptech is the short for property technology. It is a technology that is becoming very common where properties put in new technology to try to make everybody more comfortable, make the building more sustainable. And that's exactly what we do as a business.
But how does Proptech actually help tackle climate change?
3-5 years ago, the easy thing was to put recycling bin and call yourself sustainable and whatnot. But those easy, low-hanging fruit is all gone. So now we are going into more advanced. So what do we do exactly? You see, in a building, AC or air conditioning is one of the major consumer of electricity. What we are trying to do is to actually make that as efficient as possible. When the COVID hits and buildings were half empty, people were working from home and whatnot, the unfortunate truth is that the AC in the building continues to run because the building is disconnected from the occupants. As a result, you are still cooling an empty building. And that's very sad. We are wasting so much money, so much energy, so much resources, and creating this unnecessary carbon emission. So what we actually do now is to bring the central AC into the cloud and let people choose how to cool a place. Imagine yourself going into an office where you're feeling hot. Imagine now you can tell the system, I'm hot, and the system will give you 10 minutes of cool air at that instance. After the 10 minutes, we will go back to the default. And the system will, over time, due to big data and the AI algorithm, learns all the behavior, your preference, and automatically tune the space according to your preference. So what we are doing is make you happy as a tenant and make the building owner reduce the energy consumption and the wastage. And this basically is property technology.
So I'm happier and the environment is happier.
Exactly. It's a win-win situation.
And it's good that you mentioned COVID, because with COVID, a lot of commercial properties, like you said, becomes empty. How has that affected property technology, and do you still see a market for it? Because a lot of people are working from home and etc. etc. Not so many people come to the office anymore.
Office has changed for sure. There are people who are looking for more flexible space, for more hybrid working, and this itself has also brought about a change in how developers look at an office space. It's no longer me renting you a space and see you in 3 years' time. Okay? The space now needs to be connected to the people. Developers are also looking for ways to enhance the overall experience. I hate to see so many people wearing jackets in the summer in Hong Kong office. That's a shame. That's a shame. We are trying so hard to try to reduce all the carbon emission, and yet people are still wearing jackets and fleece in the summer.
Because it's too cold inside and then it's too hot outside.
Exactly. So this central AC in the building is really something I think we can do, and resolve it. And we are doing it in a very practical and a very simple way. I'm not asking the developers to rebuild the whole place. I'm not asking you to spend millions and millions to upgrade. We work with any existing hardware or the AC that's in the building, okay, without significant disruption to the existing operation. We go in there, connect your central AC to the cloud, and voila, everything will work. So this does take some courage, takes a lot of changes within the company in order to remodel this whole business process.
We spoke to smaller businesses today, but I'm interested in talking to one of the big boys, like yourselves. How do you guys see the sustainability issue?
I think it's fair to say that in the end, a solution in our case towards more sustainable mobility it's a puzzle. It's not a one silver bullet solution. It needs many players and stakeholders to move in that same direction. And obviously, as a big player, you have maybe a chance to have a bigger influence and thereby motivate others to join as well. What we have been doing, not looking just at electric cars as such, for example, but looking at the overall supply chain and how to produce and how to source more sustainably. And by that having a large part of that particular industry already taking steps to move towards more sustainable mobility. And then you see when these things come together, at some point there is really a tipping point where for consumers it becomes obvious that it's the right time and actually a relatively easy step to embrace new technology in terms of electric cars, for example. And I'm happy to see, for example, here today, how many different players, companies come together that everybody, that all have a certain contribution to make in this whole picture.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you mentioned you don't just want to make an electric car, you want to make the steps sustainable as well, right?
When you talk about electric mobility, you need to recycle the battery, you need to recycle other parts of the car.
Yep.
But when you go steps earlier, when you rethink how to develop a car using less new materials, where you reuse materials more that are actually, first of all, you reduce the amount of either toxic or materials at all, that you then more easily can reuse, then actually you don't even need to recycle so much. And we recently brought a concept vehicle to actually make a point, is built 100% from reused or recycled materials, and that car itself can be 100% either reused or recycled. It shows that it's possible and that individual mobility does not have to contradict sustainable mobility.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important part for us in order for the whole business to be sustainable, because the need and the wish for people for individual mobility is not getting smaller. And we know that mobility also brings prosperity. Yeah? So I think it's not about saying let's stop moving around and thereby trying to reduce emissions. We just need to find other ways. And I think this concept of circular economy or circularity can really play a big role in that, to make sure that these two points can be part of the same narrative and don't have to contradict each other.
Hello, Terence. I do have a very basic question for you.
Sure.
What is impact investing?
I think to distill it down into its basics, it's about investors who want to have an impact, to have a very, very clear vision of where their beliefs are, where they want to have that impact, and then really just dedicating their resources, frankly their money, and investing in companies and products and services that accomplish and achieve that kind of impact.
Doesn't that go against being an investor? Because generally speaking, people will assume investor, they're in it for the money.
Yeah, good question. I don't think it's mutually exclusive, right? Having an impact in what they invest in over the long term, it's going to generate the returns anyway, right? So for example, let's talk about this conference, this summit. There are many companies and who are producing products and services that are helping to achieve that, right? How do we make sure we don't ever hit 1.5? And over the long term, these are the same companies that are going to prosper. They're going to do very, very well, right? Both the impact that they want as well as the returns.
Yeah, win-win.
Yeah, win-win, for sure. Yeah.
But if you don't mind me saying, as a banker, people don't usually associate green initiatives with bankers.
Yeah.
Where do you see your role in the whole sort of grand scheme of things?
I think our role is to help enable our clients and to help facilitate accomplishing their dreams as well. So we've got a mission statement, our climate blueprint that kind of guides what we have to do as a company, right? Achieving net zero in terms of our carbon footprint. But just as importantly, putting money where our mouth is, right? Committing $500 billion to support clients and their investment opportunities to drive towards a net zero economy. And then bringing thought leadership and bringing ideas and engaging in that dialogue. For us, it's about enablement, and it's about supporting our clients as well as our drive towards contributing in this area.
Judging from the fact that you are here at this event,
yes,
does that mean you do have a good number of clients who are sort of having an interest in climate change?
100%.
Is there a shift in mentality? And
there
attitudes?
is. I think in Asia, over the past, I'd say 5 to 10 years, the second generation and the third generation is starting to take a much more active role in playing, decision-making accountabilities within the family. And these second and third generation types of investors, they're absolutely demanding it. So it's not just nice to have, it's table stakes now.
What have you taken away from this so far?
First and foremost, I think it's been very encouraging, right, to see that there are so many thought leaders who are actually driving this type of conversation. I think there's still more to do, right? And so that's why I'm hoping to continue to engage in these types of summits, as often as I can, and as globally as I can.
I spoke to many people today, from small businesses all the way up to the big banks and global corporations. And you know what? It gave me hope. because I saw a bunch of very smart and keen individuals who were all willing to push in the same direction to battle climate change. But the one main idea that I took away with me today is that we all need to chip in, big and small, because this is literally everyone's problem. And after speaking with the guys today, this one quote kept coming back to my mind. And it's from Henry Ford, of all people, which is a little bit ironic, but hear me out. It goes, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And I believe in this quote because I think the future really is in our own hands. So if we are to make a long-term impact on the future, don't wait. The time is now.